everyone. In this video, I would like to briefly concern myself with the People's Republic of China and how they are currently dealing with COVID. But more specifically, I guess I should say, the Western press and media's reaction slash, more accurately, propaganda campaign against how they are currently dealing with COVID. And it's been honestly quite extraordinary to take in, which is why I feel compelled to speak about this topic. So, what I want to do firstly is read to you just several headlines from Western media outlets to basically give you a sentiment of what's going on here and why I've decided to speak about this. So, this is from the New York Times. From zero COVID to no plan, behind China's pandemic U-turn. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be a recurring trend here. All these headlines are basically saying that they've taken a turn for the worse. Let's continue, though. CNN, China could see nearly 1 million deaths as it exits zero COVID, study says. This is from Nature. China COVID wave could kill 1 million people, models predict. All of this is speculative. Watch this. This is from ABC News. China reports first COVID-19 deaths in weeks, and that number may rise, experts say. This is from the Washington Post. China's COVID surge could cause at least 1 million deaths. Look at that. And look at all these different headlines saying people are going to die in China. You're seeing people say things on social media like the bodies are piling up, people at China, they're at death's door. All this ridiculous, farcical nonsense that you're seeing, okay? It's propaganda. Now, remember firstly, let's put aside what you think about China's COVID policy and how they've dealt with it in the past, although they are now changing in the future. I don't really think that's relevant for this discussion, so put that aside. But they did indeed lock down. Well, one undisputable fact about what they did, which was locked down, is that it worked. And not that many people died there, as we were about to get into here in just a second. It worked. But what happened when they did lock down? It's draconian, authoritarian, they're forcing their people to do it. And it was the whole nine. And, some of that was very justifiable. I have my own opinion, as I'm sure you do yours, and some of us don't like lockdowns. And obviously some of the Chinese don't either, because we saw small, very concentrated protest about this relatively recently, though it was blown out of proportion by Western media. We knew it was going to happen anyway. But let's get into the death count, shall we? So this is straight from Google. China deaths from COVID, or deaths from COVID in China, number at a little over 5,000, okay? Over 1 million cases, 5,000 deaths. Okay, well, let's U-turn and let's look at the stats in America. Well, 1.1 million deaths from COVID and basically 100 million cases. There is no comparison. There is no comparison. If we're going to talk about a COVID failure or 1 million people dying, why don't we talk about what's going on in this country, or what went on? Because this already happened. 1 million people already died here in this country due to COVID. So why are we so fixated on what's going on in the People's Republic of China? Why are we so critiquing their policy now? Because remember, back when it was the lockdowns, it's draconian, authoritarian, this is ridiculous, the communists, oh my God. But now that they're changing their policy and they're opening up slowly but surely, now all of a sudden they don't care about their people. They're letting their people die. Look at the recklessness, the carelessness, just the callousness. It's ridiculous what they're doing. You can't win for losing, apparently, over there in the People's Republic of China. But you ask yourself, well, why is this happening? Well, the only thing I can come up with is that it's why anything happens in a declining empire. Denial. It's deflection. You don't want people to focus on your failures, which was a huge failure here in this country as it pertains to containing COVID, preventing people from dying from it, and everything else. You don't want people to look at that. So, well, let's look at somebody else. Even though they haven't failed on nearly the scale that we failed on, need I remind you, China has a population that is 4 times larger than what we have here. They have about 1.4 billion people. We have about 320 million. Even if they did see a million bodies die from COVID, it wouldn't even compare per capita. It wouldn't even compare because they have so many more people there, right? And then most of their people are vaccinated. We know how to deal with it at this point. It's been over 2 years now. It's just ridiculous what we've been seeing. And honestly, I really don't like doing this. I don't really want to do this. I wish this is something that I didn't have to do. I would hardly call it a defense. It's not that at all. It's just me combating the ridiculous propaganda that these news and media outlets, or these propaganda machines more accurately, would try to have you believe to distort your perception of reality and what's actually going on. That's why I have to make videos like this and come out and combat this nonsense, because I don't believe enough people do it. So when you see this stuff in the news about China and their COVID policy, once again, who cares what you think about their policy and how they handled it, okay? We know, one, that it worked. And we know, for two, that this stuff that's coming out of the Western press about a million bodies and, the death count's gonna go way up. I mean, they're sitting at a little over 5,000 right now. These are facts that can't be argued with. And it's ridiculous, extremely childish, and petty behavior that we're seeing from the Western media. But what else would you really expect?